A few weeks ago, I did this video about Susanna Soberg, who did this big, major article in Cell Reports Medicine about how winter swimming will increase your brown fat energy expenditure, and it will make you thinner and do all sorts of crazy things for you. And I dissected it, and I showed how bad the science in the article really was. What I didn't know at the time was that Andrew Huberman probably had a major role in that article being published on the cover of Cell Reports in October 2021. And then right after the article came out, he had her on his podcast. He put it on Joe Rogan, and he called her one of the most important cold water exposure people in the world.
Soberg did her PhD in Denmark, is I think one of the best scientists in terms of deliberate cold exposure and its benefit.
What he did not disclose to the world, well, I guess he had it on his LinkedIn page, but was that he was on the editorial board of Cell Reports Medicine the whole time from 2016 to 2022. Huberman advised what science could get published in Cell Reports Medicine. This means that that article he had read long before it was published. He probably had influence in the article being published in the first place, getting it on the cover. I mean, we don't know exactly what was going on in Cell Reports. I've reached out to them. They have refused to comment on 3 separate occasions. But it's a real problem. I mean, like, Soberg's article claimed that brown fat burned 25 to 50 times more energy than had ever been recorded before. She quoted this neuroscientist Otto Music, who'd done extensive PET scans on patients, and he found that only 20 kilocalories were burned per 24-hour period through brown fat. She said that brown fat burned 500 to 1,000 calories per 24 hours, which is an insane difference. Like, that should have been the headline of the article if that was like her major finding. And she has used this to sell online courses at $2,500 a pop. And she now has like 300,000 followers on Instagram, sells these thermalist courses not only online, but also sets up spas and makes, I assume, a ton of money doing this. None of that would have happened if she was not on the cover of Cell Reports Medicine. Now, in my previous video, I noted that Huberman was instrumental in promoting that article, on Rogan, on his own podcast and whatever, and he made her famous. What I didn't understand was that he may have gotten it published in the first place. I was very, very skeptical how it could ever have gotten through peer review. When you make extraordinary claims, you need extraordinary evidence. I don't understand how this got published in a peer-reviewed journal, because she was fiddling with who was in the active group and who wasn't. She was changing the data all around. Her article very clearly stated that you shouldn't take her results seriously. They were at best preliminary. And yet Huberman then goes on the air repeatedly saying that she is one of the most important brown fat, cold thermogenesis people ever. She gets super famous. She leaves science entirely. She leaves Novo Nordisk and starts setting up her thermalist courses. There is something incredibly, incredibly fishy here when Huberman was on the editorial board of Cell Reports Medicine the entire time. Now, I do not know exactly what conversations happened at Cell Reports. He definitely read her article very early on. It is very weird that a study like this made it onto the cover, and she sits in front of snowy field holding her cover, and then she makes a ton of money on this. It is very weird. Now, I want you to go now check out the video I did. It's right over here. On brown fat expenditure. And then keep in your mind the entire time that Andrew Huberman was involved in getting this published at the very beginning of the science, before the science ever went public, and somehow this got through peer review. I really, really hope that we find out more. In fact, I do know that people are digging in to lots of Huberman's papers right now. I'm getting inundated with emails, and it's sort of exciting and interesting. And I think that these sorts of conflicts of interest are not only in this paper, but probably in many papers, that then he seeds the science, which is bad, and then he promotes it on his podcast to you, even though the underlying data are actually pretty bad. All right, that's all I have to say for this right now. Just dig into that other video. It's really important.